Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is fresh off a historic visit overseas where he joined President Trump to cement the administration's America First agenda. Secretary Hegseth speaking to U.S. troops in Qatar during that stop on a trip to assure them we've got your backs.
What an absolute honor it is to be here amongst America's best alongside our allies. Under President Trump, we're seeing a renaissance of peace through strength. Our enemies know that we mean business, and our allies like Qatar here know that we will stand beside them.
And joining me now is the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Will Cain, welcome to the People's Pentagon, the America First Pentagon. Welcome.
I think we should announce to the American public that no one, neither you nor I, nor producers, organized our outfits to be exactly identical today here on the Will Cain Show.
You're looking sharp, man.
You're looking
sharp.
Great as well.
It's the SecDef outfit.
How does that feel? How does that moment feel with the President of the United States standing there before the troops, before your American soldiers?
It's an absolute honor, and you know what? I mean what I say. I said in that instance and every one, President Trump has their back. I get to see it every day. I get to watch him in the Oval Office or overseas. He's always thinking through the lens of America first. How do we advance our interests? And then when it comes to the warfighters in the military, what more can I do to make sure they have everything they need? First, so that we deter the enemy. But then if we have to fight, we fight with overwhelming advantages. This is a guy who wants peace. He's achieving peace. I mean, the trip was incredible. It was something to behold, watching him move the Overton window of what's possible in that region. But you only achieve peace by looking strong and being strong. And that's my job on his behalf, and it's an honor to do it.
Yeah, but look, while you have direct access to the American soldier, the American sailor, the airman, I have a much smaller footprint and the capability of interacting with them. And what you saw in that clip, what you experienced there, and what you have in the support from President Trump has got to be something that gives you a lot of faith and gives you a lot of confidence. They seem to really support you as Defense Secretary.
Well, and they obviously, this all started with the election of President Trump, but the opportunity to stand shoulder to shoulder with them, as someone who was in those same boots just a few years ago, was in the same wars, understands the same dynamic of the enemy, I get what they're up against. And I walk into this building not because I've been a general before, but because I've seen those very same threats. And, you know, Will, when we were at Fox together, I wrote a book, The War on Warriors, a year before this all happened, diagnosing the problems inside the Pentagon, never dreaming I'd have the opportunity to actually address them. In some ways, that's the playbook. And so that, alongside the guidance the president gave me minute one when he chose me, which is restore the warrior ethos, Pete, bring this building back to what it was supposed to do, means it's not that hard. I wake up every day, Will, go to this building and say, how more can I advance the capabilities of this amazing warfighting machine on behalf of the president and the Constitution?
I got to spend some time with you today. I got an inside look at the Pentagon. We're going to share that with viewers a little bit later, but that keeps coming up, that warrior ethos. Let's get to the job at hand now. You came in to the Defense Department with three main goals. Help me and the American people understand what you want to accomplish at the Pentagon.
Three clear goals. We hammer it home every day, every speech, the Joint Chiefs throughout the Pentagon: restore the warrior ethos, rebuild the military, reestablish deterrence. And the warrior ethos is simple. It's readiness, accountability, lethality, warfighting. None of this woke DEI, CRT, gender pronoun, green new scam stuff. That's all out. Ideology is out. Capabilities, colorblind, merit-based, back to basics. It really is a back to basics message. And then rebuilding the military. I mean, President Trump did it in his first term. We're doing it again, making sure what we fund, the capabilities we fund, match the threats we face of the future, not reflexively what we've fought in the past. He's going to be the first president to introduce $1 trillion budget. That's not just spending more, it's also being serious about an audit. It's also finding cuts where we pull out the Biden garbage and put in President Trump's priorities. So we're going to invest, a generational investment in those capabilities, and then reestablishing deterrence. I mean, we've got 4 years of deferred maintenance in this country. What Joe Biden did to America's reputation is terrible. From what happened in Afghanistan, to what happened in Ukraine, to what happened in Israel, with President Trump back on the scene, and we saw it on that world trip, American leadership is back. American strength is back. Our allies are investing in their militaries because they know they have to and they should. That's all good for peace here in America.
We've heard a lot, and we're going to talk more about number one, refocusing on lethality and combat readiness over things like DEI. But I want to dig in on number 2 and number 3 for just a moment. How about deterrence? The America First posture in foreign policy from President Trump. He gave what I think is a historic speech last week in the Middle East, which was not just an indictment of the 4 years under Joe Biden, but for the decades of American involvement overseas. You just came back from that trip. How do you navigate your job with this new posture?
It's America First meets peace through strength, which means you understand the objectives, how they advance American interests. You're not utopian or globalist and naive in your views of remaking human nature or nation building. These globalist ideas that you're going to change an entire society through military intervention, which you saw us attempting. I lived it in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then you see the consequences. We've seen that movie before. We're not doing it again. And I think what we did in the Houthi campaign in Operation Rough Rider is an example. The president said freedom of navigation is a core national interest. America's ships do not get shot at without consequence. Joe Biden let that happen. That's weakness on the world stage. That stops. And that's specifically what we're going to achieve. And so our campaign from day one was unrelenting in pursuit of that objective. Now, there are plenty of people that would like to see regime change in Yemen. And that would be wonderful. In a perfect world, you got all the time, all the munitions, and all the time to focus on that. The president set a limited objective where we got the Houthis to cry uncle and say we're done, and now our ships can transit that BAM in the Red Sea freely. It's not a perfect end state. They're not completely destroyed, but we also have a lot of other things we need to focus on, like the Iranians, like the Chinese. And if we spend all of our time and effort investing in some sort of regime change war in Yemen, that we're not focusing on the core interests. So time and time again, we're focusing on what matters the most in advancing American interests, with President Trump charting the course.
Let's dig into number 2 now, the warfare of the future, reestablishing and refocusing the defense industrial base on the way we will fight wars in the future, AI, tech. Mr. Secretary, there was this video that came out in the last couple of days of a Chinese mothership prototype with drones capable of launching from this mothership. We also know the numbers on what China is spending and what it is dedicated to military personnel as compared to the United States. The viewers at home can see some of these stats. We have 1.3 million active personnel. They have 2 million personnel. We have 219 warships. They have 234 warships. We have more U.S. nuclear weapons deployed than they do. But you and I have been together for many years. You've talked about the war games that have been played here at the Pentagon on what it looks like when we go up against China.
Well, but our job is to get ahead and stay ahead, Will. That's why we're here. We concede nothing to the communist Chinese. We're creating dilemmas for them at every level. I was in multiple meetings just today talking about these various scenarios. We're laser focused, and we're certainly not going to reveal here what capabilities we have or don't have. And there's a lot of things you learn when you come into this building about ways in which we're planning for every possible contingency of what the Chinese would want to do. They have to factor more into their calculus what we're going to do based on the technological advantages that we have than we with them. Now, they'd hope in the future that dynamic changes. But that's our job. Part of the prioritization and the pivot, Will, is it's easy to keep fighting the same fight. And we're very invested alongside our allies in what happens in Europe and what happens in the Middle East. And we get told you're ignoring that. No, we're not. We're paying a lot of attention to American interests in those regions. We are. But we're also in real time shifting focus over to the Indo-Pacific. You saw it with my first trip. You'll see it with our budgets. You'll see it with future travel, with exercises, with what we're meeting and talking about every day at the Pentagon. We understand the motives, the capabilities of the communist Chinese, and we're ensuring we build a military today and going forward capable of deterring that conflict. We don't want that conflict. You showed how big they are. President Trump has a great relationship with Xi Jinping. We think that's a good thing. And we stared them down on trade. We think that's a good thing. Rebalancing that dynamic is important. We're the ones in the background trying to say we would always prefer to resolve this peacefully. But we're going to do that by being as strong as possible to meet their threat at every turn.
We spent some time together today. You took me into your office, and we talked a bit about this job and what it means and what it takes and the requirement of having good people working with you and around you. Here's what we talked about.
I don't think I've walked into a single situation where I felt, man, I'm out of my depth. I can't handle this. I mean, you rely on people, really good people who guide you. But at the same time, a lot of this job is about instincts. And President Trump chose me for a reason, which I'm humbled by. And my job is to give him an honest lens right back.
We talked, and I think it's fair to say that there's very few people in this country who are more well situated to sit between understanding the president's vision for his foreign policy and his Department of Defense and understanding the American warfighter. That is you. In your time, in the few months that you've been here, there has been some turnover at the Pentagon. There was the story over whether or not you were having to deal with leaks inside the Pentagon. Do you today feel like you have people around you that you can trust?
Boy, very much so. You know, you dive into the problem set, those first 100 days, you're going fast. Things are going to change. Personnel are going to change. You learn some things. We made some changes, no doubt. We take operational security extremely seriously, leaks extremely seriously. They have national security implications. But the team we have around us right now, Will, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Steve Feinberg, is one of the best businessmen in America. He's driving the balance sheet of this place. He also understands intelligence and the DOD. He's been around it. Undersecretary Colby for policy, one of the smartest minds in the country when it comes to policy, totally in line with my thinking and the president's thinking. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, you had a chance to meet him briefly. Will Cain, just dialed in, really smart across our entire inner staff. I couldn't feel better about the condition of the staff we have, both on the military side and the uniform side, to deliver for the president's agenda, because you do rely on people, good people, who you can trust day in and day out. And we're in a great spot here at the Pentagon and in the place we need to be to deliver the information to the president as he makes some of the most consequential decisions our country will make in the coming months.
Anyone that's watching this program, anybody that's ever watched me or our relationship together, knows what I have said and what I think about the many scandals, the nothing scandals of what has taken place over Signal. There's no point in ignoring what I have said in the past. Everyone knows where I stand. That being said, forget those who are your critics. For any American out there that is concerned over anything that's ever been shared on Signal or any other platform, what would you say to those Americans?
Well, I would point to the success of the Houthi campaign, first of all. But second of all, I wish everybody could see the way we operate at the Pentagon. I wish they could. And I wish those I served with, those I work with every day could see how seriously we take every aspect of operational security. From the way we communicate, to the way we transmit information, to the orders we give, to the plans we discuss. There's a reason why our nation's most closely held secrets are contained in certain places with only access from certain people. Nobody takes that more seriously than me. If there's one thing I've sort of been offended by, I don't get offended by much. I'm here to do my job for the president, for the country, is this idea that I don't take classification or I don't take clearances seriously. Nobody takes it more seriously than me. And we make sure that's infused through how we operate. And we do everything we can to deliver on behalf of the American people that way.